Poppers, put on your seatbelts and get ready for 15 minutes of funk. In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at the history and meanings of the term Boogaloo. Kent Harris was born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 1930, and was raised in San Diego, California. He first recorded in 1954 as Ducky Drake for Trend Records. He would then change his stage name to Boogaloo. As kids, we used to call each other different funny names, you know. Long before anyone invented a dance, one of the names they called me was Boogaloo. That one stuck to me pretty good, so now we can finally track the actual Boogaloo beginnings to Kent Harris. By the way, Poppers, I need you to fact-check the Boogaloo Party by the Flamingos in the January 22nd, 1966 issue of Billboard, Ow Boogaloo by Wayne Lo Giudice in the July 9th, 1966 issue, Latin Boogaloo by the Pete Rodriguez Conjunto advertised in the October 15th, 1966 issue, Johnny Cologne's Boogaloo Blues Cotique Records, and Jala Jala E Boogaloo by Richie Ray and Bobby Cruz Alegre Records.
Boogaloo is probably one of the hardest dances in the world. And I'll go right straight through the dances and give you a variation. It'll blow your mind. The Boogaloo.
Of course, the first to make Boogaloo a world-recognized entity was none other than James Brown. At this point, Boogaloo was a mashup of different dances done with different variations and combinations. But in terms of dancer participation, can you believe that not even James Brown was the biggest influence? No, it was none other than Oakland, California, and the adjacent cities to Oakland that ended up invigorating the entire world with the greatest dance ever created.
When I dance Boogaloo, I feel free. The core of it stems from moving your body with a flow like a puppeteer.
Moving your body in space, in time, with music, and then just pose so that it tickles the eye gate. That's what Boogalooing is.
Then came the Panthers, and the Panthers literally gave Oakland its identity. That simultaneously along with James Brown, the funk.
During the Black Panther days, they would hire us to dance at the rallies.
Out of the tension that was going on, sprang this dance as a way of self-expression.
The Black Messengers, Derek and Company, Gentlemen of Production, Granny and the Robotroid, Close Encounters of the Funkiest Kind, SS Enterprise.
Hold up and slow your motherfucking roll. This is not a history lesson about the Bay Area Boogaloo. It is impossible to cover that much information, and being accurate is so serious that if mistakes are made, they'll be sending Tomahawk missiles to Southern California. There's too many prideful individuals and groups who played a significant role in the progression of popping and Boogaloo, which leads me to the bottleneck of the popping dance. Here's where the overall accuracy begins to take on different shapes. Having said that, there's another super powerful leap of progress in Boogaloo and popping. His name is Boogaloo Sam, and the group Electric Boogaloos. Now I want all poppers to collectively look at this section of the lesson in 100% unity. It is absolutely imperative that OGs leave their tremendous egos out of this section, embracing the information without prejudice. We must embrace and accept the crucial contribution from Boogaloo Sam Solomon. Let me begin by saying Boogaloo Sam Solomon accomplished two major steps in the explosion of popping. Number one, Sam invented and added a circular robotic variant of the Bay Area's Boogaloo robot and strutting styles. It was a continuous movement that quite frankly appealed to not only to black people in Southern California, but it had mass appeal instantly once viewed. Number two, Sam invented Electric Boogaloo, a funkier in-depth version of his first robotic style. It had different levels of swagger, including shoulders and a time signature unlike anything previously done. Any move can detach and reattach in syncopation. Okay, here's a perfect example. Here it comes, watch this. I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching 15 minutes of funk. Poppers, put on your seatbelts and get ready for 15 minutes of funk. Number two, Sam invented Electric Boogaloo, a funkier in-depth version of his first robotic style. It had different levels of swagger, including shoulders and a time signature unlike anything previously done. Any move can detach and reattach in syncopation. Okay, here's a perfect example. Here it comes, watch this. Boom! 1 second, Skeet's limbs were attached, then in a split second, his limbs detached, then reconnected in harmonic syncopation. As you can see this style of Boogaloo, the cadence has changed and become massively appealing to the onlooker. Somehow Sam refined his Boogaloo and even took it further away from the original Oakland Boogaloo. He took it so far away that it became its own monster unto itself. Now, why am I breaking down the genius of the electric Boogaloo style? I'm doing this because I believe there has been a massive miscommunication of history. A miscommunication so egregious that it has ripped the harmony of popping apart. It has rendered the progress of the dance on the brink of extinction. OGs are the caretakers, leaders, and teachers of the popping dance. It has been Slick Dogg's belief and mission to reconnect the voids by celebrating all the geniuses and pioneers. Yes, I had to be brutal from 2004 to 2014, but now I'm 60, and we have to properly reboot the dance by recognizing contributions and dominance of your era. Kindness is not a weakness. We are at the critical part of this lesson. Students, I'm going to need you to get out of your feelings and summon your critical thinking. Popping, like every culture, has an ecosystem. Like all ecosystems, in order for it to survive and thrive, it must be reciprocal in all phases. Popping's survival and evolutionary process both depend on the discipline of all who participate in it. Everyone has a purpose, and no one is above the ecosystem. The beginning of this 60-year ecosystem is none other than the great Kent Harris, who was nicknamed Boogaloo. Mr. Boogaloo himself then merged the name with both his music and dancing, giving Boogaloo its new identity as a new black culture. The second part of the Boogaloo ecosystem is the invention of Latin Boogaloo by Puerto Rican musicians. They called it Latin to highlight the differences from black culture by celebrating their own sound and dance flavor, but wisely using that same Boogaloo name. Third in the ecosystem is, of course, James Brown. James was the biggest star on the planet for years and cemented the name Boogaloo in our psyche forever. Again, James reciprocated the Boogaloo name, and not once did he claim ownership of its meaning or culture. Fourth in line is the Bay Area Cultural Pioneers, or Bay OGs. This is where the term Boogaloo took a very aggressive turn in its cultural and dance definition. The mid to late 60s Black Panther Party, coupled with a stronger black identity echoed by James Brown, influenced these Bay Area OGs and gave them inspiration, or green light, laying down a foundation that every popper on the planet enjoys today. Yes, Boogaloo has spawned a super dance.
And when she danced, she set the world on fire. The little girls
go hop.
I'm a motherfucking legend. It costs a fee just to be in my presence. Oh, God.
Fifth in the Boogaloo ecosystem is none other than cultural innovator Boogaloo Sam from Fresno, California. Sam made the dance faster and individual. Remember, the Bay was primarily group-oriented. That's why you always hear group names and rarely hear about individual poppers. Sam had the genius to highlight special skills for each member of the EBs on Soul Train. By doing this, the world saw the dance as something an individual can do by himself. This is crucial because from the get-go, blacks saw opportunity as an individual. Unfortunately, this is where the ecosystem ended. Roughly from 1995 to 2005, the popularity of popping skyrocketed to a place never before seen. Primarily, the electric Boogaloos are solely responsible for its growth worldwide, for it was them that spread the knowledge of popping and created the foundation of what we see today worldwide. Except for some reason, Sam never recognized any of the people before him as the main architects. According to the new narrative, Sam himself, in fact, invented the entire ecosystem, and unfortunately all were referred to as substyles and/or illusions. As Black Americans, OGs from both Southern and Northern California, this claim by Sam is nothing more than an opinion chalked up as egomania. But when white people and foreigners around the world was taught this, it automatically reduced popping down to cloning. And when I say cloning, I mean cloning on a biblical fucking level. I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching 15 minutes of funk. Poppers, put on your seatbelts and get ready for 15 minutes of funk. I have to be 1000% transparent because this subject is extremely difficult to navigate. One has to be respectful for the positivity the EBs have given the popping world. Having said that, blame must be placed on the EBs for the crime of misuse and abuse of their power and either lying or teaching delusional stories irresponsibly. At the same time, real forgiveness must be given in 2025. We must remember to judge men based on his excellence, not his perfection. For these next set of examples, no matter how uncomfortable you may feel, keep in mind that as of now, forgiveness is the new theme. For the friends of the EBs who love them very much, you may be angry feeling this information embarrasses your mentors. Don't feel like that. The best thing you can do is say nothing about it. Don't force them to speak or rebut it. The best thing you can do is keep supporting their workshops and classes. Especially now, we need everything the EBs have to offer, excluding the misinformation. Here's a good example. The countries that are the most affected by the EB propaganda is China and Japan. Because of their rich culture before they started popping, it is very easy for Asian countries to create their own ecosystem. They can operate and survive with very little to no interference from anyone. Asians are very, very good at creating tremendous opportunity for commerce. But if you notice, all the title themes to their events have the same theme. Titles like Pop Your Style, Do Your Style, This Is My Style, Watch My Style. Basically, they have to give their events a freestyle title that suggests poppers can do what they want. At the same time, 90% of their curriculum is clone training and choreo. In fact, the only time we see more of an individual performance is when they memorize music and build an entire skit around the music. What I'm saying is cloneism is so bad that they can only create separation if they memorize and rehearse to music they've picked out. When you do this, you are no longer a 100% authentic popper because now it becomes a super rehearsed performance. When you have so many dancers looking the same, the only way Asian poppers can differentiate from one another is memorize the music. See, it's less likely two poppers will create the same moves to a rehearsed song. Bopping, G-style, Bay Area styles, and techniques will never help you grow because you've already been taught to disrespect it from the beginning. If you have no respect for other information, yes, you'll feel a false sense of superiority, but popping slowly dies with your finger in your ass. Asians have been betrayed. It is very easy to fool anyone who believes in you and depends on you for their very educational foundation. As I've stated several times, we must place blame to recognize the problem, but in order to move forward, we must promote forgiveness and love. If you love this dance like you proclaim, then you must forgive the EBs with no hesitation, and forgive me for bringing these facts out in the open. Let me show you how easy one can be misled or betrayed.
Today I'm conducting an experiment to prove how detrimental betrayal can be from your teachers. I will be learning the Chinese language and then teaching that language here in America. Let's get started.
I love you in Chinese. 我恨你。我恨你。
How am I supposed to know? This goes out to my mom.
我讨厌你。
In Chinese. 我不在乎。我不在乎。
If I don't know the Chinese culture, if I don't know the language, how am I supposed to know? Congratulations to my friend and your new child. The first thing that came to my mind is
我根本不在乎。
Fucking amazing.
So how is the Chinese student supposed to know when a black teacher comes to China and teaches you about our culture? How are you supposed to know? This is how all the information gets screwed up. Well, what the hell did you learn?
Slick Dog. There's no doubt this is the best information I've ever seen, and I know there's a ton of more things for me to understand. But at the risk of sounding disrespectful, are you kind of blaming us for this? Please explain, because I'm trying to look at this objectively, and to be honest, I'm becoming angry.
We cannot blame the agents because all they've done was innocently trust their teachers. All they did was trust the teachers. If you don't know the black culture, this is how you get screwed up.
Okay, so let me see if I understand your lesson. First of all, I am shocked learning the vast history Boogaloo, if my math serves me correct. That's roughly 70 years of different generations adopting and using the term. Boogaloo spawns different cultures, dances created from the previous generations. In terms of popping and Boogaloo, the actual foundation was invented by the Bay OGs from the late 60s to the mid-70s. Boogaloo Sam is the great man that revolutionized a dynamic version and brought his version of the dance to the world. Sam's original students appeared in movies, taught Michael Jackson and taught the world their style. They brought us happiness, but they fucked up and told some lies. Those lies are why we can't progress. We were taught to believe that other foundations are ugly and not to be respected. Lastly, you showed us how easily a student can be fooled if you don't understand a foreign language or the culture. Slick Dog, thank you for this lesson. It was very uncomfortable, but I'm better off if I know the truth. Thank you for your G-style, your music, your fearlessness, and never cowering to compliant OGs or the cancel culture.
I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching 15 minutes of funk. I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching 15 minutes of funk.